last talk will be Esther Young, who will give a talk about Seattle Community Network. Welcome to the stage, Esther.
Hi, we actually are 4 people on the stage today. I'm Esther Jang.
I'm Dan Tyson.
And this is Cody Harris and John, what's your last name?
Elliot.
Sorry. Okay, so we're here presenting the Seattle Community Network. This is a local community, essentially a nonprofit ISP. It's all volunteer run. So the Seattle Community Network essentially focuses on serving underserved communities in the local area, not just Seattle, but including Tacoma and areas just south of Seattle, sort of in between, if you know the local geography. So together we build free and low-cost access networks in the Seattle area, especially for those who can't afford to pay for internet service or devices and don't know how to connect to access networks. So for example, this might include a lot of seniors, people who are housing unstable. And so actually, the story of how we started, I think I might have skipped a slide by accident. So this community network kind of started actually at the University of Washington, where I'm in a research lab where we work on connectivity technologies and particularly internet access using open source cellular for rural remote villages. And so we've done network deployments in Indonesia, Mexico, and the Philippines. And so we have this open source cellular network stack. And during the pandemic, we couldn't go out to rural areas and do our normal research work. So we turned our focus here to the Seattle area, and we got some grants from King County and the city of Seattle to serve low-income and marginalized communities. So we have free service for seniors, those who are unemployed, housing unstable, majority non-English speaking, low-income families of students, and for others, we will have a suggested donation-based model. So in a technical sense, our network is a fixed wireless network. So we partner with community centers and other organizations such as libraries and schools, and we establish these cellular network sites running our open source stack and commodity hardware. And so we broadcast a network, usually 1 or 2 sectors, out to residences, including tiny home villages, which are a type of transitional housing for unhoused people, and low-income housing, senior housing, places like that. So we partner with these community institutions, and we're also using this cellular network equipment running in the LTE band 48, which is the CBRS, Citizens Broadband Radio Service band, which is lightly licensed. So it's kind of newly opened by the FCC. That's why we're able to run our open source networks on this band, which is a great privilege we have right now. And so our current cell sites are with the Filipino Community Center, Garfield High School, Franklin High School, our Remote Cultural Center, etc. This is a picture of one of our network deployments. We do this all DIY in a community setting on top of the Skyway Library. And from there, we serve these user sites, including Nicholsville North Lake, Nicholsville Central District. So these are examples of tiny home villages, which are sort of a house plot with sort of temporary housing or sheds where people who are formerly homeless will live either in a permanent or a temporary setting. So these are areas that were formerly uncovered, like unserved, and we are able to set up either a Wi-Fi connection off of a fiber line that comes into it, or provide fixed wireless service to that area if wired providers are not a good option. And we're still doing outreach for more users.
So in terms of social impact, we obviously provide internet service to people in need, but we also have a service learning program for students and tech workers. This includes our monthly hack nights that we do at the Filipino Community Center, as well as Discotex, which is like a discovering technology fair. In addition to that, we also do community IT and tech support and we have a digital stewards program, which is basically like a youth and adult vocational training program. You can see a couple pictures of us doing installs and various different outreach things here. You can leave it up for a little bit. There's some more pictures here. This stuff is available on our website at seattlecommunitynetwork.org for the most part. And for those who are interested in getting involved, we have a number of options. If any providers here could provide peering or transit at the west end, that is our head end, and that would be very useful. Any sort of fiber or wireless backhaul services in Seattle to help us get our sites connected would be amazing. And we are a 501c3, so donations are tax write-offable. We can take equipment, monetary donations, and then obviously we're also looking for volunteers. So people that are interested in teaching community classes, doing installs at network sites, and just providing expertise in general is very much welcome. That's pretty much it for our presentation. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them now.
Is it good? Oh, thank you. So Kat Renee with Microsoft. And I wanted to ask, you were saying you're looking for contacts within the NANOG community. So you're looking for peering and transit at, you peer at the 6 today, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but you're looking for transit services?
That would be amazing. Yeah.
Okay, great. And then you also mentioned something not in the presentation, but at one of the lunches, where you're looking for SIMs, eSIMs, like those types of donations. And how would those be used in your program?
Basically, it's interesting. We have it's technically a mobile network because we have a cellular network. The cellular network currently has quite limited range. We are looking to expand the number of sectors and things like that. But so we have these coverage areas where we can have fixed wireless CPE, customer premises equipment, or we can have mobile phones. And these both work. But currently the mobile phones, like you have to have physical SIMs and put it in the phones. And these days there are some newer models that don't even have physical SIMs. And of course, only newer models of phones support the Band 48 CBRS because it's only been out since around 2018. So it would be very helpful for us to have eSIMs just to increase the number of phones, expand that basically scalability. And because since we run our own, our networks are kind of fully owned by us, we procure the SIMs and give them out as well. So they have to have our SIMs. And yeah, that would just be helpful.
Great. Thank you for your presentation today.
Andrew Dole, thank you very much. I think this is an awesome project, fellow Seattle person, so great to see this. I also would admonish people who are in the audience or also part of this, that this is also a great way for people to learn about how to do and build networks and actually have hands-on to build a real network. And that's really cool, and I think that's awesome. My question, just because I need to ask a question, of course, right? How many subscribers do you have on your cellular network on a peak basis and on an average basis?
So it's interesting. I mean, we don't really keep a subscriber count. I would say based on the places that we serve and the number of residents in each one, it's probably around 100 to 120. So we are looking to expand basically, we would have to expand coverage area. We're doing some network upgrades to add different types of fixed wireless equipment because honestly, cellular networks are very expensive. One of the reasons we were able to deploy so many cellular networks was because of that funding during the pandemic, where people wanted to try out using CBRS and doing like an LTE pilot. And so that does get you, a wide area coverage, but the capacity per sector is not that high. So we're going to expand to different fixed wireless equipment, add more users at each site, and that requires both the social outreach and, the bandwidth.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chandler Hume, Threshold Communications in Seattle here. Are you currently only peering at the 6, and do you have any other upstream providers that you're peering with, as well as what's your total aggregate upstream and downstream bandwidth that you currently are seeing?
So currently we're peering at the 6 in the Weston Exchange building. Our upstream provider right now is doof.net. We are not currently passing traffic, but once we begin doing that, probably less than 5 gigabit.
Okay, so most of your traffic is not going through your own ASN currently. Are you using other providers for your traffic for this?
Yeah, for the most part right now, we're using CenturyLink residential gigabit lines.
Yeah, so really, we've been transitioning to having more of our own core infrastructure, but it's kind of a work in progress. Basically, we have a agreement with the city of Seattle, within Seattle, that Lumen can provide some connectivity for our community network sites. So that's kind of like the legacy way of just providing the upstream. And then we would like to basically tie our core network together, but we're still doing that right now.
And are you guys located in the Weston building yourselves, or are you somewhere else?
We are in a suite in the Weston.
Perfect. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
We get online question from David Diaz. He's asking whether does the cellular provider need to donate an eSIM?
Could you repeat the question?
Does a cellular provider need to donate an eSIM?
So if there was a cellular provider who was able to donate eSIMs, that would be great. We currently do not have eSIMs. We have physical SIM cards. And those we actually, just print and order ourselves. Yeah.
I think the biggest limitation with the eSIMs is they need to be signed by some sort of upstream cryptographic provider.
Yeah, we actually had looked into doing this open source because, we're researchers and, we're nerds. We like to do things open source. But it's extremely expensive to get essentially the license to maintain authentication server for the eSIMs to verify that identity, and because those are essentially signed by the GSMA. So yeah, that's in our understanding, that is cost prohibitive. So we can't just roll our own.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Mark Prosser, Acronym Solutions, Inc. I do remote consultant work for DBIUA. I don't know if you've heard of them, on the San Juan Islands. It's a non-profit community ISP on the San Juan Islands. Similar struggles, although we don't deal with as much of underhoused people, for example.
Right.
As you look into other initiatives for fixed wireless, are you going to try to keep that open source stack nature behind that, or potentially get a little proprietary vendors?
In terms of the hardware itself, the wireless hardware, currently we don't do all open source firmware or anything. There are mesh networks who do that, but at least on the cellular hardware side, it's extremely hard. So we use, most of our sites right now use BiCell's equipment. So yeah, that's the radio gear. We'll use Ubiquiti, MikroTik. So we do use non-open hardware things. On the software side, we try to keep things open source, but yeah, it really depends on the resources and the need and stuff like that.
To clarify just a little bit, our edge router at the west end is currently running a BIOS.
Okay, yeah, BIOS,
Yeah.
yeah, makes sense. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.